Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. We want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox for all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're also brought to you tonight by Darren.
If you're down in the Raleigh area and need landscape or lawn care work done, look me up. Facebook.com/SSS Lawns.
And as I mentioned, good evening. Welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I'm joined as always by my fabulous co-hosts, Darren Starling.
Hello.
And Angela Rose.
Hello.
And we are excited tonight. We've got a fantastic guest joining us. We are going to be talking about comics, D&D, conventions, and a whole lot more. Please welcome one of the creators from HB Comics, Alan Hebert. Alan Hebert. I knew I was going to screw that up.
How's it going, everyone?
I am horrible with names, as everybody knows. Hello to Ross in the chat room. Ross Luck, as many of you heard last week, is one of those ultimate viewers. He was with us 11 of the 12 live hours we streamed from the Vermont Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo a couple weeks ago. So thank you for that, Ross. That was awesome that you were there interacting with us and the fans, and it was just amazing that you were there with us through just about the whole thing. But tonight we want to talk with Alan about HB Comics. For our listeners out there, because we've been talking for years about getting you guys on the show, and finally we were able to just sit down at Northeast Comic-Con earlier this year and say, you know what, screw it, I'm penning out, when are you available? This is what we got. We set everything up, and we are excited to have you joining us tonight. So for our viewers out there, tell everybody a little bit about HB Comics and what you guys do.
HB Comics is run by me and my brother. We've been self-publishing superhero comics since 2008. My brother was supposed to be on this show with us today, but he kind of fell sick. So
hopefully...
oh no, speedy recovery to him.
Yes, hopefully everybody's feeling better. I know there's been a lot of sickness going around. We actually had to send our oldest daughter back to her legal guardians because she was sick this weekend. So I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So definitely thoughts, prayers, and positive energies out to him. And
definitely.
Now, we've known you guys for many years. We've been con buddies and table mates and throwing stuff at each other across the aisles at multiple cons.
Definitely.
Oh dear.
Angela laughs because she got to meet you at NECC earlier this year for the first time. She doesn't know.
Having done Artist Alley with friends myself and knowing the kind of antics that go on, I can only imagine what nonsense and shenanigans the two of you did.
We're perfect angels. Alan and I are the good ones.
It's usually Leanne that causes all the trouble, right?
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Okay. All right. I see how it is.
We'll go with that and Chris, since he's not here to defend himself.
Exactly.
But
So I don't know what your books of our books that you own of ours. So I don't know how familiar you are with our line, actually. Yes. But we started publishing Laserman back in 2008. That was like our main title, and that's the one that I created. Chris was the artist on it, so it was the most pure HB Comics book. And for that, we moved on to Chris's book, Vindication, which is more of a team book. And as of now, we have 6 titles that we have in circulation.
That is awesome. And some of your comics that you've created, you've had some interesting ways that they have come about. If I remember correctly, you were talking about some of them based off of D&D campaigns.
We did a lot of role playing, particularly years ago, and we did several superhero ones. And most of the characters were created in those games, and a lot of the stuff came from those role playing sessions. It was me, my brother, our friend Ken, and another friend Mike. And Ken joined us in the HB Comics, and he's got 2 books out with us. He's got a Legion of Justice and Mystery Men. And a lot of what we published was based off of the role playing game sessions. And a lot of times we would come up with stuff for the comic book and then bring it into the role playing to test it out.
That is pretty cool. I know there's a lot of thought and ideas that go into making comics and stuff like that. The creativity is unbelievable, and it's pretty cool to know that you have been able to build a comic. A lot of your comics based off of these campaigns and things like that. I don't know how many other people can be there and be like, we created this comic, and this is stuff that actually happened during an RPG, or this is real life experience of what our characters went through. We just moved it to paper form from game form.
Well, you got to know what to take from the game and what to throw away. Some things that happen at the table don't happen well in a comic book. So a lot of the gaming was more testing for a lot of stuff that we wanted to do, particularly in the end. But I had thought about doing a Laserman comic book before I created him in game. And he's been through several systems. I mean, we used to jump systems a lot. So I think we started in like the old Marvel system. Have you ever played that game?
I have not. I know very little about the RPG world
okay.
or the comic world.
That would be an Angela question.
Yes.
I have not. However, one question I was going to save for later.
Sure.
Roll20, a virtual tabletops, has, as part of their catalog, it's, I believe, still in open beta, a brand new and Marvel role-playing system.
Oh. Yeah, Marvel's had a few in the time I've played. So,
but there's a new one that's out that I was actually on the fence about seeing if one of my groups wanted to buy in.
I might need to check that out, actually. I played the Marvel system. I played the old DC system. We did GURPS for a long time. Did Hero, which is basically Champion. The stories there, I think the system is only secondary, to be honest.
I will actually agree with that. Have you tried any of the White Wolf systems?
Oh, yes. Over time, we have played Vampire and Werewolf. And we even tried a GURPS Werewolf campaign when GURPS had a supplement for Werewolf. They had like a port.
Interesting.
Yeah. We had a time period where we were switching all different types of systems.
See, for the better part of a decade, I had a group where the GM hated straight up D&D, but would literally do any other system that the players would present. So we did a lot of White Wolf, a lot of other lesser known stuff.
Yeah, I've always found D&D to be best for fantasy, and that was something else that we switched a lot. I think my first real thing was first edition D&D, and I got into it when second edition was being published. And most of my first major campaigns were done in second edition D&D. And we ended up kind of getting bored with it a little bit. We switched over to GURPS. I think we did Palladium a little while. And then third edition came out, and third edition was probably my favorite edition of D&D. And then we stopped a while. I actually missed fourth, which, thank God.
Fourth edition had some good concepts.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard. I've heard it was a great game if you don't look at it as a D&D game.
It was a train wreck. I absolutely hated fourth edition with a passion. That being said, there were some good things, and they took the good things out of four and adapted them into fifth edition, which I'm actually really liking.
Yeah, I'm liking fifth edition. I think I'm going to be trying Pathfinder for my next campaign because I really like third edition, so I want to try that 3.75 as they call it.
If you stick with first edition Pathfinder, you will find it is exactly that, D&D 3.75. If you are expecting that, do not try second edition Pathfinder.
I'm probably not going to.
I did a demo of it and I absolutely hated it. But apparently allegedly it got better according to several of my friends, but I'm not sold.
Gotcha. So as you see, I've been through lots of systems, lots of different types. In the end, I was kind of known as the fantasy DM of our group. Everyone in our group DM'd. And I was I always did the better fantasy campaigns. Our friend Ken, he was big on the superheroes. More than even me and Chris were. He became like our main superhero DM for the longest time. And actually, I think it was in the DC role-playing game that I first created Laserman, now that I think about it. And I did it with Ken DMing, and I mean, I had already at that point planned to do a comic book. Me and Chris had already sort of had like a handshake. We were going to do Laserman and Vindication, and back then it was going to be I write everything, he draws everything. And if you're an artist, you know it's impossible to draw multiple books in a month. And we were planning on having like 10 books he was going to draw. That was Chris of course was 14 at the time when we decided this.
Overly ambitious and assumed he could do it, and no.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of stuff was already come up with, but a lot of stuff came through the role playing as well. So, I mean, our friend Ken had to come up with villains for us, so he came up with villains, and many of them we still use. So, and it turned out to be a very cooperative thing. And then, Ken actually created Mystery Man, saying, "Hey, well, we make him a friend of Laserman." Like, oh, cool. And the next thing you know, years later, we're finally publishing. Like I said, we've been publishing since about 2008, so we've been doing it over 10 years now. We've done just about every Northeast Comic Con, which is when we met Doug.
And they've regretted it ever since. I can't say that. We've had a lot of fun chatting with you. You are amongst the many people over the years that we have grown to have to seek out when we go to a convention. It's okay. Are they here? Yes, we need to find them. Angela can vouch for that. I'm like, HB Comics is here. We've got to see where they're at.
And at that point, I was just kind of like, shrug. Okay.
Who are these people?
And then I get introduced, and then, yeah.
And then she understands why it's like you like these people.
It all went downhill from there, and
well, as most people see, me and Chris are very, very passionate about anything we do, especially the comics. We can talk for hours about the comics. We can talk for hours about stuff we've done in role playing. We can. Our greatest thing has been perseverance.
And that's actually a thing I have talked. I love role playing. I got introduced to D&D back around 2005-ish, third edition, and it's been one hell of an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's always intrigued me, but I've never really had the opportunity or the time to look into it to obviously the extent you guys have. It's, Angela and I have hung out and have talked about, making a character for myself for a future campaign or something like that. But at present day, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm willing to learn.
It's a lot of fun and it can take over your life, so just be warned.
Yep.
And
if I have to drag you to OGC, I will, and then I will force you to play a D&D one-shot with me.
That sounds like it could be fun. Come on up and get me.
The OGC is usually in Manchester.
Like I said,
you can drag me if you like as well. I'd love to come.
Cool. We could take over a D&D game.
That's right, and I can. With me there, I can conk Doug on the head while you distract him, and then we just throw him in the car. That way, he won't have a say in it.
And Leanne would just be going, "What the hell's going on?" She'd have no clue. It'd be great.
Be like a big anime thing, conk on the head.
It'd be like I've been isekai'd.
Yup. No, one of God. I just really hope if we do this, I really hope we get I hope we get a DM that knows what they're doing.
No, you always hope that. So, I've actually never gone to a con and played in a game. My stuff has always been with my close group of friends, and unfortunately, COVID. Ross asked the question, "What's HB mean?" HB actually stands for Hebert Brothers, being me, Alan, and Chris Hebert. So it's based off the fact that we're brothers doing this. And we came up with that name in fairness before our friend Ken joined. But I've known Ken Youngquist since...
He's an honorary brother.
Yeah, he's an honorary brother. I've known him for over 30 years now. So we went to high school together. I was a freshman in high school when we met. So he's always naturally fit in with us. And when he started adding his characters to our universe, it really made the universe a full thing.
And if I remember correctly, you HB Comics has over 5 or 6 different comics that you put out now?
6 different comics: Laserman, Vindication, Team Synergy, Mystery Man, Foxglove, and Legion of Justice. So 2 of those are written by me, 2 of them are written by Chris, and 2 of them are written by Ken.
That's cool. And is Chris still trying to do all the art, or do you have other artists who are helping?
Chris's last book drawing was Laserman number 9. We got a new artist for Laserman number 10. But Chris still does the majority of the coloring and the lettering for everything. He is the art talent of the group. Unfortunately, I can't draw a stick figure very well. So he has to do everything. And with the recent baby that he just had, didn't know he had a kid on Christmas Day, a son that he named Luke, after, of course, Luke Skywalker.
And on that lovely note, it's cool to see family. It's cool that family are doing the job together, that actually have interest in the same thing. Sometimes family in business just doesn't click, and that is so very true.
That is, yeah. I mean, we definitely have our problems sometimes, being brothers, being very close brothers. We do fight a lot. We also do get along extremely well. I mean, we're best friends. And
that's the important thing. And I can speak from experience of knowing Alan and Chris for many years that I've always had an amazing time when chatting with you guys at conventions. We're always talking about anything and everything. And if you see these guys at a convention, check out their stuff. Even though I don't know a whole lot about the comic world, they put out quality content. Granted, I'm not much of a reader because I have the biggest issue of anytime I read something, I fall asleep. It doesn't matter if it's manga. It doesn't matter if it's books. Let me find one here. Now, a book this size, and this is by an author who I love this series. In fact, Aaron Kaiser Horn has been a guest on this show.
Is that the other guy? One of the other people we talked to at Northeast Comic Con?
No, she doesn't make conventions up here. The first book, this is a 3-part series: Eyes of Lightning, Wings of Thunder, and Soul of Storm. I let somebody borrow Eyes of Lightning, and I never got it back, which kind of sucks. But the series was absolutely phenomenal.
It wasn't me, I swear.
No, it was not Angela. It's somebody that I haven't talked to in a long time.
But no, my bookcase, which you cannot see because it's literally directly next to my monitor. My bookcase is 100% proof that my degree is English Lit. and I'm a book nerd.
I can vouch for that. We hung out in Boston, and she's like, "Okay, I need to get my parking validated. Let's go to Barnes and Noble."
I had to find a store in the mall to spend $10, so I didn't pay $50 for parking.
That makes a lot of sense.
So subsequently, I bought a book at Barnes and Noble because it was there.
And anybody who hasn't been parking in Boston, it is like $40, $50 if you're there over an hour.
It's ridiculous.
It very much is, which is why on the weekends there's one garage where if you get there after 5 p.m. on Friday or Saturday and Sunday, it is $16 for the day. And for Boston, that's freaking ridiculous.
I know in a place that's $9 for the day, but it's probably more of a walking. That's financial district, so you'd have to walk. I actually get. I work in downtown Boston,
so you know.
Yeah, I get I have a parking card in a garage in Post Office Square, but it's financial district, so it's not really near anything. It's a little bit of a walk to any good stores or anything.
Yeah, no, the parking. Depending on where I'm going in Boston, I'll either drive to Haymarket and go from there.
Yeah.
Because that's the cheap garage, or I will walk from my house to a bus or Green Line stop and then end up in Kenmore and then go from there. Because fuck paying the ridiculous parking fees in Boston.
Yeah, definitely.
So something to think of if you're coming in for Anime Boston at the end of the month, which we are gearing up. We will, as I mentioned before, we are not going to have a live Sunday night show next weekend. We are going to be doing a live Saturday night show from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. live from PucciCon in a panel format. So this is going to be the first time in AZR history we are going to be doing a live show in front of a studio audience.
That's excellent. I will be going to Anime Boston, but walking around. We don't get tables at Anime Cons. Despite my love for anime, our comic books really aren't anime-based. Laserman has maybe a little bit of that anime influence into it, but overall, I kind of look at them as separate hobbies. My love for anime and my love for comic books.
You'll have to find us at Anime Boston. We will be there covering as press the whole weekend. Also, Friday morning, I think it was 9 or 9:30 a.m., I have a panel about podcasting at Anime Boston.
I might have to visit that.
And sadly, I will not be there for that because I was not able to get the day off of work Friday. But so I will not make it to the convention until after I get out of work.
So 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Friday the 27th, which, holy crap, this year has been unbelievable AZR-wise for me or for us, I should say, not even just me. I have this amazing team helping me out. Getting press for Anime Boston this year for the first time since 2015, getting a panel for the first time ever at AB. We're sponsoring 3 conventions this year. PucciCon's Pennsylvania and their New Jersey Con, and Rail City Fan Fest in St. Albans, Vermont. So we've definitely been busy this year. And like I said, PucciCon's next weekend. We are planning on doing some live streaming from the table like we did in Vermont. We are also planning on doing a live show in show format. So Darren, if you're still going to be awake at 9:30 at night next Saturday, you're more than welcome to join us. He ain't even awake now.
He might be actually dead this time.
I might have put him to sleep. So,
nah, that's not you. This is normal.
Yeah, Darren works 2 jobs. Usually starts his day at 4:30 in the morning at job 1, and job 2 is his own landscaping company. So he works himself to death. I'm not far behind.
I will ask this. Did you guys do anything special for free comic book day?
We did not, unfortunately. We've had a very hectic weekend, unfortunately, and as I stated, Chris is sick. Actually, both our parents went into the hospital with COVID this weekend. So yeah, so Chris said he tested negative, so that's good, and I tested negative.
So that's a plus.
Thoughts and prayers and all the good karma their way.
Yeah.
That it is not serious.
Yeah. We also had the added problem of the place we used to go to for Free Comic Book Day is now no longer a comic book store. So we used to go to this place, Midgard Comics and Games, and now it's Midgard Hobbies and Games. They stopped having comic books, so we weren't really sure we were going to be going anywhere.
Oh my! Did that not come up? Midgard up in Derry.
Yeah,
I know the owners.
Yeah, I do too, very well, and they were our home base for a while. And unfortunately, they're no longer a comic book store; they're just full in on 40K in games.
Yeah, because they used to be part of our old Five Rings crew back in the days of the Game Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Game Castle, when all the shenanigans happened, all the old Five Rings crew, most of them went up to Midgard. And that's about the time I moved into the city. So going from Roslindale to New Hampshire to that far up consistently was just not happening.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was going to Midgard every weekend, and even that's a 45-minute drive for me from where I live. And I still go there for gaming stuff. And I still get along with the owners very well, but they're unfortunately no longer a comic book store. So I just haven't really reached out to any other stores to do Free Comic Book Day. It's sort of a thing we always end up doing it like every other year for some reason or another. There's always some reason. So maybe you'll see us next year somewhere. And we'll let you know where we're going to be.
I went exactly once years ago with friends. Friends kind of convinced me to go up with them to Double Midnight.
That's where everybody's supposed to be. So
it's an experience.
Is it?
She's just like, it's an experience.
Well, no, it was basically it was one of those, not being a comic book person until very recently. I felt very out of my element and very overwhelmed.
Yeah, I hear they have a heck of a party there on a comic book day. And then those guys who run Double Midnight, they also put on the Granite State Comic Con, which is a great Comic Con that we do every year. And we'll be at that Comic Con this year.
When is that?
That's usually in September. I'm not sure what weekend. I'd have to look it up.
September, okay. Because depending on when that is, I might be able to get up there.
I think that's one that's on my September 16 through 18. And that's one I've been wanting to get to for a long time, just never had the chance to for various reasons.
Because that's right now a wait and see, because that's also busy time at work, plus if it gets too close to my Europe trip, just anything and everything is just not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. No, but that's one we do with a bullet point every year. It's right in Manchester. So, and Chris lives now in Manchester, and for me, it's only a good hour drive. So,
and they hold that at the same place they used to hold AAC, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. Yeah. It's been in that hotel for years now. So.
Doubletree by Hilton downtown.
Yes.
It'll be nice to get back there. I haven't been there since AAC and that hotel had a falling out of sorts.
Excuse me.
I don't know the whole story of what happened. I just know that their contract ended abruptly, and what depending on whether it was fault of the con, fault of the hotel, combination of misunderstandings or whatnot, things have been going downhill.
I have a lot of second and third hand information. Subsequently, because it is second and third hand information, not something I'm going to say on the air.
That's
exactly.
understandable.
And that's why I'm being vague about it. I've heard some things from staffers and of AAC, so it's like
It's a little of column A, some from column B, and a lot of what we like to say at work, nonsense and shenanigans.
It's been a good home for GraniteCon anyway, so.
I think a Comic-Con and an Anime Cons bring in some different crowds.
They're very different crowds. Somebody who goes to both of them, yes, it's very different crowds.
Gaming conventions are different than comic conventions are different than anime conventions, and while there's a lot of overlap, they're not the same target audience.
Yeah. And that's why we don't, as HB Comics do anime cons or gaming cons or any of those cons. We stick strictly to Comic Cons. As much as I love anime, I'd rather attend anime conventions as a, person walking around buying stuff.
Although with the amount of role playing you've done, I'm surprised you've not even gone to gaming conventions as an attendee.
Yeah, I am too, actually. I've gone to wargaming conventions, but not role playing conventions. I've always wanted to go to like Gen Con or one of those big ones.
Actually, if Gen Con Indie is Gen Con Indie for tabletop gaming is about the equivalent of a New York Comic Con. It's ridiculously large. If you don't know what you're doing, it's overwhelming. It is amazingly awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things on the bucket list.
One that's a little closer to home, probably a lot less expensive, would be PAX Unplugged, which is in Philadelphia, usually shortly after Thanksgiving, where you can do literally any kind of gaming that does not involve a screen.
Oh. Yeah.
You want to play miniatures games? They got that. You want to do D&D and other tabletop role playing? You can do that. Card games, board games, all of it.
Well, if you haven't noticed, I'm a man of many nerd hobbies. So many nerd hobbies.
Likewise.
You're a man?
No, I meant a nerd of many hobbies, Doug. Shut up.
I couldn't pass that up.
No, that was good. But yeah, from what I understand, wargaming conventions and role-playing conventions are actually fairly different as well. So, and I have been to wargaming conventions. I fell in with a wargaming group for a long time. And that sort of dominated more what I was doing than role-playing.
Is that 40K specifically, or?
It started 40K and went into regular Warhammer, the fantasy base. And,
okay.
Before COVID hit, we were playing like all different kinds of games, anything not from GW, to be honest.
Fair, and not that while those kind of games were never really my thing. I know a lot of people that played them, and subsequently I knew all of the events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved 40K when I did it, but it gets very expensive, as you can imagine, and very time-consuming.
I know. One of our good friends actually bought into 40K, and it's funny. He'll tell us how much the value of the stuff he's got, but he's been lucky enough to win tournaments, and then subsequently doesn't spend the real money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, understandable. But I went from role-playing games into war games, and I'm kind of swung back towards role-playing games and a little bit of both. Unfortunately, all the groups I was in, COVID dismantled them. So I really haven't played anything in a long time.
Yeah, no, my one of my groups is exclusively online because we are scattered across the state. Our GM is in Lawrence. I'm in Boston, and the rest of the one players in nearest city would be Fall River, and then somebody else way out past Amherst, Western Mass.
See, when COVID hit, we discussed the idea of doing, video role playing, and two of the members were like, "No, we don't have any interest." So,
and that is 100% fair.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I wasn't thrilled about it either. So, but
now one of my groups that the group I'd been playing with for almost 20 years at this point, it's been 50-50 online versus in person. We were doing in person for a while. Then when school restarted, when school restarted for everybody, it became let's go back to online, and given half the group has had COVID already, it's basically now we'll eventually get back to playing in person, just not now.
Yeah, I got hit with COVID first week of December, and that made for a interesting run into Christmas.
I can just imagine.
I ended up getting it largely asymptomatic towards the end of January.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people got hit in that time frame.
Nah, basically, I have seasonal allergies and spend most of the year congested.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, and the only if I didn't at the time, work was having us get tested every week. So if I didn't get tested for work, I would have never bothered to get tested and subsequently wouldn't have known I had it. That's how non-symptomatic I had, because I literally had a stuffy nose and that was about it.
Yeah, I didn't get hit with it too hard. It was I actually had a similar story. The guy I work with called out, and then he literally started texting me. He's like, "I'm sorry, dude." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I have COVID." And I work very close with this guy. I was like, "Oh crap!" So I ran down to the nurse's station in my work and got tested. I thought it was going to be negative. I was like, "Nah, there's no way I have it." And even the nurse, she's looking at it. She's like, "Oh, you don't look like you have it. It's probably good. Let's take a look." And she's there looking at the test strip and just goes, "Oh." And I think I was the first person in the building she had tested with it. She's like, "Okay, go home." And I spent the next 2 weeks stuck in a small room.
Yep. Well, my house, pretty much, it wasn't pretty much, I was the one that had like zero symptoms. And then, of course, at work, it was I had to take so many days off. And then in the middle of that days off was a blizzard. So we weren't leaving the house.
I used it and I caught up on a lot of anime that I was looking to watch. So I made good use of the time.
Mine was Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger.
Start to finish.
I caught up on a lot of older stuff that I had started and never finished. I'm into a lot of older anime. I think I discussed this with you guys when I last saw you. Since it's Anime-Zing radio, we should probably talk some anime, right?
Well, we can.
Yeah, I was really there before the boom took place in the 90s. I used to go to comic book conventions and I'd spend money on comic books in anime that was there, fan subbed.
Yep.
So, I mean, I was buying stuff that I thought none of the stuff is ever going to come to the U.S. And then slowly it all started coming to the U.S. I mean, I had 20 tapes of Rurouni Kenshin, and I never thought that show was going to show up on Cartoon Network.
And then surprise.
I have a similar story. So my best friend from high school, she got introduced to anime, and she worked at Suncoast, and so she would just import a bunch of stuff, and then she would bring it over to my house. And so I basically, my introduction to anime was stuff that she liked, which it wasn't necessarily what I liked as I would learn.
Oh.
And then college rolls around, and one of my buddies had a fan sub box set of Bleach.
Oh.
Which was both awesome, but the subtitling was so bad. You could definitely tell it was not subbed by someone who spoke English as a first language. And the grammar was so bad I couldn't watch it. So I was trying to find... I spent a couple of Anime Bostons trying to find season 1 box set so I could watch it from the beginning.
Sure.
By this point, it's out of print. And subsequently, I've never actually watched Bleach more than like 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, wow.
That's more than I've seen.
And it's sad because it is one of those, I know that if I actually sat down and watched it, I would enjoy most of it, minus the filler. But there's just way too much at this point that it's why bother?
Well, you can say that about any anime. There's way too much.
Truth.
I mean, you can put a bunch of people in. I mean, it used to be years ago. If I talked to somebody who was into anime, we saw all the same stuff because there was a limited amount of stuff. Nowadays, I guarantee you, I probably haven't watched the same things you guys have watched.
It's very rare Angela and I watch the same thing.
We have come to the conclusion that there is one anime per season that all of us watch.
And this season, it's Spy Family.
See, what actually got me into anime is when I was younger. Fox 25 in Boston used to have a little block after school. I was in maybe 3rd grade. And it would show Star Blazers, which was Space Battleship Yamato. And after that, it showed a show that they called Force 5. And Force 5, if you'd never heard of it, was essentially 5 different giant robot anime. So it was Getter Robo, Grandizer, Guy King. And they'd show like one every day. So it was like Force 5 because it was 5 different shows. And of course, as a kid, you have no idea this is Japanese stuff. You just, hey, it's another...
It's cartoons.
It's a cartoon, yeah. And when I hit college around like 1992, a friend of mine was telling me, like, yeah, these things are coming out on VHS. But you can only find them at like, an anime store in Harvard Square. And I had no idea what anime was at the time. In fact, we were having a discussion whether it was pronounced anime or anime. A lot of people didn't know which was the correct pronunciation of it. And as I started picking up these stuff, I mean, this is what got me into anime. So I go way back like 1983 with the anime.
No, my friend, the first thing she brought to my house was a VHS tape of a show called El Hazard, which all I remember is the gratuitous PG-13 stuff, whereas a pair of high schoolers, fine, whatever. When a 4-year-old sister decides to sneak down the basement stairs, we had to make sure she didn't see anything inappropriate. And then the next my college roommate was super into anime, and she introduced me to Serial Experiments Lane, which is one of my favorite older anime. If I went to rewatch it today, I doubt it would hold up. But so good.
I still think you would like noir.
We can't find it. We went looking for it. Crunchy lied to me. And by Crunchy, I mean Google lied to me and said it was on Crunchy, and it's not.
Probably was at one point, and then they pulled it. There's a lot of... I find that, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of shadows out there, stuff that was once out on the site, and now it's no longer there, so... But I still love the older stuff. I consider one of my favorite animes right now to be Space Battleship Yamato 2199, the remake of the series. Or it's actually, I think it's up on Crunchyroll as Star Blazers 2199.
Funimation still has it.
Yeah. But,
Yeah,
well,
we
I
guess
was under
what
the
we,
impression they would like the same thing now. So
well, they are, except not everything has migrated over. And guess what we don't have anymore?
Funimation subscription.
Yep.
that makes it difficult.
Well, because we basically, once the merger happened, we saw no reason to keep both. And if everything was migrated to Crunchy, the one to keep was Crunchy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So at some point it probably will migrate over, but I know it. I just looked at Funimation because I still have the Funimation account because I have been stupid and forgot to cancel.
But that's
Another one I'm looking forward to is there's a new Get a Robo out called Get a Robo Arc, and I just found out that's on H Drive, which I'm not as familiar with. So
High Dive?
okay. Yeah, I think that's it.
High Dive is a smaller service.
I'm sure it costs money though, so there'll be another service.
It
I have to pay
does.
for.
I do
it
not.
does. It's about, I want to say it's like $6 or $7 a month, and they are primarily Sentai Filmwork titles, as opposed to Crunchyroll, which Crunchyroll has lost the licensing to a lot of the Sentai Filmwork titles because of their merger with Funimation.
Mhm.
So Sentai is pulling stuff out and moving it strictly to High Dive now.
Yeah, this is why I like DVDs. So, I'd own everything on DVD if it wasn't so damn expensive.
We are slowly getting away from from physical media.
Hmm.
Living in the city,
I can understand that.
it's one of those we have not a lot of space. On top of that, it's physical media gets expensive when the trade-off is we can basically pay a monthly fee and watch whatever we want whenever we want. And DVD box sets are expensive.
Yeah,
They are. They are ridiculous. Unless you can catch a good deal. If Darren was here, he would be talking about all of his Sentai finds. Because Sentai Filmworks does run deals every now and then where, I want to say 2 Christmases ago,
The Food Wars.
we bought 10 DVDs for $100. Everything was on sale between 50 to 70% off.
that sounds good.
And the Food Wars, I think the Food Wars DVD, it was like season 1 that I got. Regular price cost about the same as all 10 DVDs that we got combined. So they do run good deals. You just have to figure out when it is. Of course, if you're into anime and you have any anime stuff on Facebook or social media or anywhere that ads pop up, you will get the High Dive or the Sentai Filmwork deals pop up like crazy.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to subscribe to that for at least a month, on top of Funimation and Crunchyroll. And
Well, you could
everything else
probably
I'm subscribed to.
drop Funimation at this point because I think they said by summer the entire Funimation roster should be over on Crunchyroll. So if you want to drop Funimation, add High Dive, because High Dive does have a lot of good titles, including the To Love Ru franchise. Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon franchise? Food Wars is over there. Why the Hell Are You Here, Teacher? Girls in Panzer. So
I've seen that one. I enjoyed that one, Girls in Panzer. That was.
I went to the movie theater in Boston to watch the movie. To see
really?
those tanks fire off in a theater experience was worth going into Boston for by myself.
I would think so, yeah.
And I was happy to not be the oldest person in the room. I was afraid of that.
Yeah.
Well, I will shake my head at you for some of your choices.
It was a fun show. I actually watched it beginning of COVID.
They drifted a tank. I mean,
Yeah.
that in and of itself was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw somebody actually do it I saw a video of somebody actually do that for real in a real tank. I'm like, holy crap, that actually can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, surprisingly accurate.
It was.
The idea of, except for the idea of high schoolers driving tanks, that's
Yeah.
kind of...
Oh, yeah. And speaking of that, on that note, throw a quick happy birthday out to Caitlyn French, who is a talented voice actress we've had on the show a couple of times, hung out with her at a couple of conventions. Today is her birthday. She was one of the voice actors in Girls in Panzer.
Oh, awesome.
Also want to throw a congratulations out to Emmy Lowe, another talented voice actress who's been a guest on the show a few times, who got married yesterday. So congratulations to her and her husband. Hopefully they have a long and happy life together.
Yay!
Happy birthday. Congratulations.
Happy birthday. Congratulations.
And for those of you who don't know, I still have it here. Emilo voices Delmine from Mashumaresh. Thank you again to Justin Hamburg for picking this up for me. Emmy was kind enough to sign an autograph for me, and I was excited to get that. The fanboy did come out a little bit when Justin told me he got that. I won't lie.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, we've got way off topic here. Getting back to HB Comics, you said you currently offer 6 different books. Tell everybody a little bit about each book to pique some interest as to what might
Okay.
get to each person.
Well, all books take place in the same universe. So it's a world that just found out superheroes are real, have been around, sort of been an underground thing that the government's known about it and covered up. And now it's just exploded onto the scene, and people are trying to figure out how to deal with this. Our launch title was Laserman. Laserman was basically he was a hardcore old school comic book geek. He, was the type of guy who would spend all his money on comics and everything about, every superhero. And in a strange accident, he ends up getting real superpowers. So it's sort of that sort of fanboy fantasy come to life. And of course, it started off basically a light spoof on superheroes, and it sort of migrated into more a traditional superhero book over time. We've got 10 issues of that book. And again, that's our most pure one. That's the one that both me and Chris worked on the most together. Our second book was Vindication, which was about, it's kind of like an X-Men-ish title, I guess you could say. It's about 5 heroes that the government didn't know about. They're kind of underground. And one day they find themselves attacked, captured, and they got to escape, try to live, and find out who's doing it and why. So there's a little mystery to the first story arc on that. Then we started publishing Mystery Man, which was a spin-off of Laserman. So it's kind of like if Laserman's the Superman, Mystery Man's the Batman. But he's that guy who he doesn't really read comic books. He knows a little bit of superheroes through the movies. So, and for him to kind of become a superhero seemed kind of strange. So there's sort of a mystery as to why he's doing it all. He's sort of a guy who doesn't really believe in real heroes. And then one day he hits the lottery and decides, I'm going to become a superhero. So Laserman and Mystery Man are one of the comedy titles we had. We also have Team Synergy, which is about 5 teenage girls, all cousins, who find out that they have superpowers when they hit age 13. And they find out that their great-grandmother is one of the original superheroes of the universe. So she brings them together and trains them. Fun note, Team Synergy, I came up with that idea while watching Sailor Moon. I was, showing my nieces Sailor Moon, and I'm looking at them like, why is there no American series like this? It seems like there's no comic book, no series where, just, young superhero girls. So I thought, I'll create one. And that has become one of our more popular titles. Because you go to a comic book convention, there's not a lot of comics for young girls out there.
As a not so young girl, I can definitely attest to that.
You're still young at heart.
Well, no, there's not a lot of comic books where that are geared towards women or younger girls.
Yeah,
That's slowly starting to change.
I'd like to think I was slightly ahead of the curve on that. So, but when you're small time, then it's kind of tough to get it out there. And then just recently we published 2 new titles. One of them, Legion of Justice, written by Ken Youngquist, and that is the government's answer to all of this. The world's, people are beginning to panic. Superheroes are everywhere. What's the government going to do? Well, they're going to put together a super team, and they're going to say, "Hey, we have it all under control." Well, of course they do. So they take their greatest army general, who also happens to have superpowers, and put him in front of a team that people he doesn't know, and say, "Hey, now you're the new face of the superheroes in the government." And then
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Everything.
Everything could. And our latest one is my brother's latest creation called Foxglove, which takes place in Providence, Rhode Island, which is more the seedier part of our universe, where all the most of the stuff is based in New York. All the sort of bad stuff that went wrong sort of migrates to Providence. So you have this girl that's a former secret agent that's sort of taken it under her control to try to get Providence back under control. And in the last convention, that's probably been our top seller. That's called Foxglove.
It's definitely got an interesting art style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have different artists on all of them, so we like to think that the art matches the feel of all the books, and all the books have a different feel. So there's a little bit of something for everybody out there. That's the way we like. If you like, fun and goofy, you might want to go for Laserman. If you want, sort of, dark, female Batman-ish, we got Foxglove. If you like more of the traditional, if you like the X-Men type, you probably want Vindication. So I'm hoping people go check that out. They're all for sale on our website at hbcomics.com.
Which I definitely recommend going over, check it out. I actually have the link open right now, so I can get look through everything that's up there, and get a better idea of all of these characters and the different comics that you guys offer, because I don't. It as you know, it would be virtually impossible for me financially to buy like every comic from every vendor that we would want to have on the show.
I understand, and and Lord knows when we talk, we tend to talk more about anime, so because I know that's your thing, and it's another one of my things.
And we do talk old anime, some new stuff. You keep me up to date on the older stuff. I keep you up to date on the newer stuff.
You've made some good recommendations. I haven't gotten around to them, but you've made some good ones. So
stay away from Conception. Don't waste your time on that.
Okay.
Number of shows since that show has been brought up. Many.
Since Darren and Leanne and I sat down and watched it, and we still don't know how or why we watched the entire thing.
The point being, it comes up every week.
Show, yeah.
And but why?
Because it's so terrible, I have to keep talking about it.
Stop that.
It's a train wreck. You don't know why you keep going back.
Yes, but the
plus, now that I know that it irks you, I'm going to bring up more.
It's more along the lines of why give it the publicity.
Maybe that's why I do it. Is like, don't watch it. Now people have to. It's like if I was subjected to this torture, I want other people to. So reverse psychology. Alan's like, I'm going to stay as far away from this show as I possibly can. It was based off a video game that was not that good either, from what I've heard.
I tend to like most anime I watch. There's not much that I've actually looked at and said, "Oh, this is terrible." I can think of maybe one real exception. So,
which is the exception? I've got to know now.
yeah, I know you're going to say that. Somebody had said, "Yeah, check out this show called Redo of a Healer." And I saw that and I was like, no. And I'm sure that's somebody's cup of tea, but I'm not into the ultra violence for the ultra violence. And hey,
Leanne loves that show.
I'm not surprised.
Darren, I think, liked that show too. I'm like, no, I'm good.
And that gets into everyone's got different taste because I've seen my taste is a little all over the place, but there's only a couple that I couldn't get past a couple of episodes.
And was that one of them?
No, that one I've never seen, but
I have only one anime that I could not get past the first episode, just because the first episode showed me enough to know it was not in my interest.
And is that the one I think it is?
That is probably one of the most well-known and popular titles for years. And I know that it's still going because the final season, part 5 million, will be coming out soon.
Yes, it is. Okay. And that happens to be one of my favorites, which is
Attack on Titan.
Yep.
Oh, Attack on Titan. Okay.
I watched episode 1 and said, the art style is cool. The storyline seems interesting. It's not my cup of tea. I've got too much. I think also at the time I was watching 13 shows. So I dropped that one knowing that after one episode, it wasn't going to interest me. It's the only show I have not given a 3-episode trial to.
Whereas Attack on Titan, we binged the first couple of seasons right before season 3 was airing, and then we just kept up with it, and it very much is my cup of tea. Although the final season really was a what the fuck did I just watch?
I watched 17 episodes of it. I binge watched it over a couple of days, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I see why people like it, though.
The one that I couldn't get through, I think I gave up after episode 3 was One Punch Man.
Oh, you didn't like One Punch Man?
I did not.
You're not much of a superhero person, are you?
No.
I find it interesting just based on, you're starting to see these American superheroes in anime between One Punch Man and a few of the other ones that are out there.
Like, I did.
My Hero Academia.
My Hero Academia is fun.
Yeah.
It's not.
I kind of enjoy the Japanese take on superheroes. It's kind of interesting seeing that sort of come back around because things, it goes from America to Japan, back to America, and back to Japan.
My Hero Academia is fun. I think it's gotten to a point of way too overhyped.
Mm-hmm.
Some story arcs are definitely better than others.
I lost interest in My Hero part way through season 4, which means I gave this anime a big chance to hook me. It hooked me enough, I like some of the characters. I like the idea behind the show. The creators are amazing to come up with that many different quirks for so many characters, which I give the story writing and the people who created My Hero are amazingly creative for the work that they did. I just got bored with it when I kind of call it the fairy tale effect, where it went so long, you kind of started to see a looping effect of story arcs, and it was like, okay, it's a different group. Different events are happening, but the same basic concept is starting to just play over and over and over.
I would say watch the villain arc.
That might intrigue me, considering the fact that I don't care for many villains, but Toga, for some reason, I just absolutely fell in love with that character.
she's one of the villains that actually gets a good story. So, but again, not my favorite, but one that hooked me enough where it's definitely on our watch list.
I fit more into the isekai trash category typically, which is, I think I surprised Darren and Angela when I said this season I'm watching 4 animes and none of them are isekais.
But no, the traditional superheroes, I did not grow up with comic books. My husband is a huge comic book nerd, and subsequently,
Well, you'll have to bring them by a convention to my table. So I can oh my God.
And it boils down to he's been picking out comics for me to read based on what I like and everything else.
That's a good way to do it.
So I tend to like a lot more of the indie comics. Although one I thoroughly enjoyed, both the movie and the TV show, was Watchmen.
Oh, of course, Watchmen's a classic. So,
but that's more the superhero movie.
So you're more a '90s person. So '90s, it was age of the anti-hero in comic books. Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns.
I've seen most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Some I like better than others. But the only reason I started watching, I even saw Iron Man in the first place, is because the guys all wanted to go and I didn't want to be left out.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And I figured Robert Downey Jr. in an action movie that's got lots of good special effects, what could possibly go wrong? And it actually was enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I really could have given a crap about Iron Man before that movie. And that movie really put Iron Man on the map as far as I'm concerned. He was always like a hero that was kind of like there, and I never really read Iron Man. But during my major run of reading comics, I read Incredible Hulk more than anything else. I read some Spider-Man, but a lot of it was Peter David's run of Incredible Hulk that got me into comic books. And he's the guy who took over the Hulk when they decided to turn him gray and intelligent versus green and stupid. And his run was incredible, and that's what made me want to read comic books. But I had one point where in the comic book store I had a subscription over like 30 titles, I think. Of course, comics were only like like $1.50 back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you could subscribe to 30 titles.
Now, if you subscribe to 2, you're going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Whereas my take on that is wait until the trade paperback comes out, because then you can justify.
Well, the funny thing is, and again, as an independent comic book guy, I've seen a few trends come in here and there, and we've always tried to keep our books at $4, and some people say you should probably sell them at $5. But we've kept it at $4, and some people will look at you like you're crazy at $4, and a lot of people, particularly when we started back in 2008, said they wanted trade paperbacks. So we did everything we could to get trade paperbacks. We ran a few Kickstarters, in case you don't remember. We got Lazy Man 1 through 4 into a trade as soon as we could. Vindication 1 through 3 was our second trade. Team Synergy is that book came out was barely in a floppy before we put it into the first story arc into a trade. And it's because everyone was saying they wanted trades. Now it seems like everyone seems to want floppies again. During COVID, I sent I was part of a Facebook group that was designed to get independent publishers, hooked up with stores. And I emailed a whole bunch of stores, and I tried to sell the trades because I thought that's what they wanted. And quite frankly, it's a much better profit margin. There's no profit margin in an independent floppy. and they all wanted floppies. None of them wanted trades. In the past few conventions, it seems like everybody's jumping on the floppies. So I feel like there's almost been like a reversal there. So I'm glad to hear somebody wants trades.
Because I can just... It makes more sense. The way I look at it is if I'm buying one book that's got every part of a story, then I'm spending $15, $20 when I would be spending more than that if you add up the cost of each issue. And then I don't have to basically stay current. I just wait for
the next
each
trade
volume.
And a trade is also good for if you see a series that you like and you want to, read a good chunk of it to really get wrapped into the story. Read, okay, so this one, as you said, might be volumes 1, 2, and 3 of this comic line. They get the trade, they read all of that. Now they're hooked. They can't wait for the floppy of 4, 5, 6, and now they're buying them individually instead of waiting for the next trade to come out. Which that could also have been the trend where everybody bought the trades to get the grouping, and now they want the floppies to continue with what they're reading.
I think COVID changed a lot of the dynamic that was out there, and also killed a lot of the momentum we had. It feels like we're starting over in many ways, unfortunately.
I was going to ask, with the pandemic having, as an independent comic creator, I know you guys depended a lot on conventions for revenue and comic sales and stuff. How much did that send you back when conventions were forced to stop for a year and a half, 2 years?
It pretty much sent us... we lost a lot of momentum. We did Philadelphia every year since 2008. I think we missed 1 year. And we actually had a little bit of a following in Philadelphia. And the 1 year we missed it, we noticed that, it took a big hit on us. So now we're about 2 years out of doing Philadelphia. Excuse me. If we go back, it's going to be like starting all over again. And even at some of the smaller cons, we do all of Gary's cons, but last con we did, it's like we barely saw any of the same people.
And I would not be surprised if that is 100% a byproduct of COVID. Because not everybody feels comfortable going to large events again.
Yeah, and so it's like we're going to try to find out what the trends are, what the new people are, what they want.
And I have a feeling like even Anime Boston coming up, that's typically a 25 to 30,000 attendance in the weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if they were under 20,000 this year just because of COVID and stuff. Which I won't lie, might feel kind of nice for Anime Boston to have not as many people. You might be able to actually get to a panel and not have to wait 2 hours beforehand.
I was actually at the very first Anime Boston. I remember when that happened. And it was so exciting because it's like, oh, we got a big one in Boston. Because there were a few little ones around. And I had actually traveled the year before to go to Otocon, which at the time was one of the biggest ones.
Yep.
Has it been weird to see how anime and comic cons, the conventions in general, multi-genres and whatnot, how they have grown in numbers leading up to the pandemic, and after the pandemic you're starting to see a decent amount of them trying to make a comeback?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who miss them and want to get back out to them, but I think there's also, as Angela pointed out, probably a lot of people that don't want to get into a big crowd.
Well, PAX East was kind of the perfect example of that. PAX East was, I had a lot of fun. I got, that said, it was about a third to half the attendance that you'd see in years past. Even comparing 2020 to 2022, because PAX East 2020 was one of the last large events before the pandemic set in.
Yeah, and I remember that was packed. That was,
Like
shoulder to shoulder people.
now, I love going to large events. I normally don't have issues with being in crowds. PAX East 2020, there were moments where I almost had a claustrophobia, like panic attack because of how crowded it was and I couldn't see.
Yeah, I can see that happening at that place.
Because I am a very small person and I was surrounded by very tall people and I couldn't see the door. And I just got overwhelmed and I was like, I basically went to like two of the people I was with and was like, if you guys are going to stay here for this thing, that's fine. I can't. I need to get out of here. And I told them to, they basically ended up, I basically had told them to go meet me somewhere else in like 10 minutes or whenever they were done with what they were doing. 2022, it was weird, even though they sold out for single day Saturday badges and had reached capacity, it didn't have the same feeling. You could still actually walk across the expo hall without feeling overcrowded.
Yeah, PAX 2020, that was my first and only PAX so far. So I just remember that being so busy that it was a little off-putting even for me.
And I can say, like, Kineticon, having gone there for years, last year they brought Kineticon back. I mean, granted, they went from midsummer to a September con, just so that they could try to put that on. But I would say their attendance was down. They were probably half capacity at best from what they'd been in years past.
Yeah.
I mean, the day of the masquerade, they were asking cosplayers if they wanted to be in it, and that never happens at conventions like Kineticon, Anime Boston, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Darren's got noise, but I think he's still out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So
we will mute his mic, and if he unmutes it, then we know he's
alive,
come back from the dead.
But no, it'll be interesting to see what happens to conventions the rest of this year.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it to pick up too much. I'm hoping next year everything starts to rebound, but I have a feeling the rest. I haven't signed up for any major cons this year.
My con schedule is almost back to it was before I moved to New York. I am slowly killing myself because I've already been to 3 conventions this year. I've got PucciCon next weekend, Anime Boston at the end of the month, Rail City Fan Fest in June. July's got NECC on 4th of July weekend, which I've got to message Gary to see if he actually has a table space or whatnot, because I've been trying
I think he does. We tend not to do that one because it's not a Comic-Con. It's a I think he called it like an entertainment con or something like that. I don't think it's his record con. He's doing like several types of cons now.
Yeah.
But his next Comic-Con is in December. I mean, I might stop by, especially if I know you're going to be there. I might go by. But as far as our schedule, our next one is Plastic City on July 16th, and that's run by our good friend Keith. So,
oh yeah, Keith Gleason.
Where is that?
That's in Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So that's a nice, fun one-day con that's usually not overly crowded. Then we got Granite Con in Manchester on September 16th to 18th. We plan on doing the next Upper Valley Comic Con in West Lebanon, although we don't have a date on that yet. There will be a Kids Con in Portland around November, and then Northeast Comic Con in November. And that's pretty much our year. So that's one of the first years we haven't done any major cons. We were supposed to do Philadelphia. We ended up canceling it since Wizard World got bought out by Fan Expo. So that would have been a few weekends ago. And quite frankly, I don't think I could have gotten the time off of work with the way everything's been going. So,
yeah. But hopefully we'll be able to, because I'm trying to work, trying to get some things planned out for Gary's November show because that's right around It's like right after Thanksgiving every year. And I want to try to see if I can plan it out where we can go out there, spend Thanksgiving with my sister who lives in Foxborough, and then spend the weekend vending in the con with a table for AZR, and then come back Sunday night, much like we, not just walking around like we did for the show last month.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll be across from each other again. That'll be fun.
You never know where Darren's going to put us.
That might not. I may very post Thanksgiving. I likely won't be able to do that because time and money, and typically we do our trip, our PAX Unplugged is typically right after Thanksgiving as well. And so the time off and the money will end up going there to that trip.
Oh, that's fine. I know we have PucciCon in New Jersey coming up in August, which once I get past this gauntlet of PucciCon Pennsylvania and Anime Boston and figure out where we are financially from these big shows, then we will go back. Then we will look at getting the hotel for that. There's also a thing in the works with Anime-Zing where we are looking at going there as well. So my goal at the start of the year was 10 cons table at 5 at least. By the end of this month, it will be 5 conventions attended with 3 tables. Or no, 2 tables. And then June will be 6 and 3. July could be 7 and 4 or 8 and 4.
I'm going to take some credit here.
Yeah. Angela has relit the fire under my ass to keep me motivated, and I said 2022 was going to be the year that I made AZR successful. And
it just so happened, while running around at PAX East, I ended up having random conversations with numerous people, one of whom is the vice president of Anime-Zing. And subsequently asked him, how do we get to be guests?
I have sent an email out. I'm waiting to hear back. So now it's just a waiting game. And, if we could be a guest at Anime-Zing, that would be one of my dreams come true. One of my goals that I've always wanted to do was to be a guest at a convention because, that would be an amazing experience. But at the same point in time, no matter how successful the show gets, I want to stay grounded and true to what I've done since day one. And that's just bring on some of the most amazing creators, whether it be comic creator like you, Alan, and your brother, cosplayers, musicians, gamers. I just want to keep providing a platform for people to promote themselves and to be successful.
I appreciate that.
Have you... As this comes up more and more, as technology gets more advanced, have you thought about putting your comics online as like web comics or web versions thereof?
We have in the past had some web versions. We're part of Comixology for a while, and we were part of a few other sites. And every time we seem to go that route, the place shuts down on us. So we haven't had a lot of luck. Something we have been discussing recently. I do want to start getting up like on Amazon and stuff, but we haven't seen a ton come through from that angle, and I think I'm a little too old-fashioned to really want to read them online. But I don't know. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who said it's not worth it, and I've talked to a lot of people who've said, yeah, you can, it's money that's out there. So I've been on the fence about it, and I probably should, light a fire under myself for that.
On that, and then slightly related, but not necessarily so, have you looked into things like You mentioned Kickstarter earlier. Have you looked into things like Patreon?
I really haven't looked into Patreon. We have discussed doing another Kickstarter. We got a few more books we'd like to get, collected. That way we can stop printing the floppies for them. But then again, I'm thinking maybe I want to get major runs done of the floppies if more people are going to be buying floppies. So again, I want to see how the market, the comic convention market pans out, I think, before I make any major decisions. Because I really don't know which way it's going. If it goes more in a graphic novel, then I'll get more graphic novels. If it goes more in a floppy, I might just get large print runs of floppies, which is something we've never done before.
And through your experiences of attending multiple different genres of conventions, have you seen many like comic creators at anime cons? I said you guys stay away from it. You want to stick mainly to Comic Cons with your books, but have you seen or talked to other comic creators who have been to anime conventions about?
Most of the superhero Comic Con people who've gone to Comic Cons that we've talked to at anime cons have said don't bother. Most of the people who've done really well at anime cons usually have something that's more anime related, even if it's just like they're an artist. But as far as comic books, they said no. Most people I've talked to have said don't bother. I mean, I'd have a vague interest in doing an Anime Boston, although part of me, wants to keep more of a fan than be behind the scenes in that.
Anime Boston is. I am not an artist in any way, shape, or form. I have just lived with them. They're some of my best friends. And for several years, I was basically helping them in the artist alley from literally in everything but the art perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen I've seen the not superhero comics artists do moderately well, but a lot of them are more like but anybody that has book type stuff, it's more manga style or more chibi style.
Yeah.
And I know from experience of also vending Anime Boston, we were lucky enough to have a table a couple of years in a row with Leanne selling her artwork, that the anime style stuff was big. It was popular there. She had a couple of pieces that she had done that were based off of superheroes, or like Poison Ivy piece, Medusa, stuff like that she didn't really get any bites on. So I can understand where you're coming from, where like the anime crowd is looking for stuff like this.
Yeah. And it's funny because one of the years I was in the artist alley for Anime Boston was peak My Little Pony. Mm-hmm. And my friend had she didn't think it was going to be nearly as popular as it was. She did, because she enjoyed the show. Her husband was really big into it, so she did some fan art from My Little Pony. Sold out like right away.
Yeah, me and Chris have been very big on sticking to our guns too. We've always tried to push just the comic books, where a lot of the creators, in order to bring in more money, they'll come in with, this picture of Batman or this picture of Superman, and have all like the DC and Marvel heroes, and we just want to sell our own books. So we're kind of stubborn in that. I mean, we probably could make more money if we tried to branch out a little more, but we're there to promote our stuff, not all this other stuff.
On that note, have you thought about taking some of the characters and doing
crossovers?
Prints? Like, not even crossovers, just prints.
We tried prints, and we found a lot of people didn't want prints of characters they didn't know. So, Chris used to do some comic cons on his own, where he had his book, and those would sell pretty well. But we tried to keep them off the table for whenever we did it in HB Comics, because we're trying to sell our stuff. And Prince is one of those things he'll usually come back to me and say, "Oh, let's try the Prince again." And I'm kind of on the fence on it. I'd love it for them to sell, but I mean, people who don't know the characters, and we're very passionate about getting our stories out there to people. I'm sure you've heard us plenty of times, Doug. You know how passionate we are on the way we sell.
That was one, like, knowing how passionate you guys are about your books and knowing that you have stayed true to your goals, your designs. This is what you want. You're not gonna bend to the popular thing to try to make a quick buck. And that's one thing that I've always admired about you guys, and one of the reasons that I've wanted to have you on the show for so long, because you guys work hard at your craft. You're there, you're trying to promote yourselves, your creations. These are your babies, and you want people to enjoy the hard work that you guys have put into it.
Okay.
And of course, here comes one of the cats. Spy wants attention.
Yeah, I saw him in the background playing around.
It's same.
That helped a lot.
He was over your shoulder for a little while.
Oh yeah, this is Ines.
This helps out also that my eyes are
You
trained.
say hi, Ines.
So that very quick. Interesting idea, but okay. That was Mother's Day.
He just sits here with his one brain cell.
Oh, I see you got the moon.
But when you're into all sorts of other hobbies, you get distracted too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like right now, I'm thinking a lot about playing RPGs. So instead of writing comic books, I'm probably spending more time working on a D&D campaign than I should be. And
Yeah.
I recently bought Elden Ring, and that thing has been driving me crazy.
Yep. I've not played Elden Ring. I know a lot of people who have. I also know that while it's absolutely gorgeous, it is a game that will make me absolutely miserable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not one for hard games. I kind of like the story-based games more. Although I kind of love to brag to people that, I'm somebody who beat the original Ghost and Goblins game, which in the Nintendo era was considered one of the toughest games, ever put out. I tried the Dark Souls game. I didn't realize Elden Ring was part of the Dark Souls series, basically.
As soon as I got told that, that's when I realized, nope, I ain't touching this.
And Dark Souls is like this is like the perfect game that I want to play. Everything about it, everything it looks. I tried one of the Dark Souls. I couldn't get past the first boss at the end of the tutorial. So I didn't realize Elden Ring was that cool. I was having a hard time. Somebody told me, it's done by the same people who did Dark Souls, and it's not as bad as Dark Souls, but it's a little rough. And it's a gorgeous game. It's a gorgeous game.
So I've seen. No, my the video game that I'm currently finishing up is Horizon Forbidden West. I love my adventure and RPG games. I'm a sucker for a good story.
Yes.
And that's why I introduced her to an anime. that basically had a huge RPG feel.
And a game I was playing before that, I had gotten a Switch for Christmas, and one of the games I picked up was Super Robot Wars, which is essentially a whole bunch of anime giant robots, everything from Gundam to Get a Robo. And I was playing that, and actually stopped playing that for Elden Ring, and I'm kind of partially regretting it.
What system are you playing Elden Ring on?
PC.
Okay. Curiosity, because in my living room we have a PS5, a PS4, a Nintendo Switch, and
I don't know how the hell you got a PS5. I tried like hell. I couldn't get it.
Good karma, and somebody owed me a favor.
Oh, there you go.
One of my coworkers won the Sony lottery at launch to buy direct from Sony. He didn't have the money. He said to me, I owe you a favor. Were you guys planning on getting a PS5 at launch? All you have to do is give me a credit card number, and it's my spot in the lottery is yours.
No, that's awesome.
So we gave him my husband's credit card number, and we have a PS5 direct from Sony that arrived at my work.
That is amazing.
That actually happened to a coworker of mine 2 weeks ago because I was helping him work on a car while he was checking his phone because he was a Sony PlayStation Plus member. He got into the lottery and he got the link and he got in and was able to get everything through and had it that weekend.
Well, in
He
fairness,
got it.
I'm a real big PC guy. I mean, I work for Hewlett Packard in the daytime. So
My
a machine I built, and I built a super machine, of course. So it's kind of a shame for me not to play it on PC.
No, my PC was built for me as a birthday/Christmas gift.
That's
And
a hell of a gift.
my birthday happens to fall right between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so
Oh, really?
yes.
So does mine. Well, actually, every like 5-6 years, my birthday is on Thanksgiving.
Mine is the day of infamy.
Oh, December 7th.
Yep. So my gaming rig was somebody put that together for me, and it played Cyberpunk 2077 on day one, and no major issues. I did not have to adjust settings at all.
That's great.
I don't even want to talk about my...
We're not going to
crap.
have that conversation. I'm just going to tell you need to buy a new PC.
Oh, I know that. It's just getting the money now.
Well, that's always the trick.
Well, yes, unless you know a guy.
It used to be building your a PC, you could get a much better PC than what you'd buy. But to be honest, nowadays, things are so much cheaper than they used to be that you might as well just buy one.
Unless you are the type of person, or the type of person that enjoys building it for fun.
Oh, that's why I built one. But I guess recently I bought my father one, and I'm kind of jealous of it, to be honest. And I just built one maybe 6-7 months ago, and the one I got him is a little better than mine. In fact, it made me upgrade my video card because I was so jealous.
I don't even have a video card.
You're not doing any gaming then.
My husband managed to get a stupid good deal on a pre-built, as opposed to just buying the parts and then having his brother put it all together.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately the type of person I could walk into Micro Center, just like to buy a thumb drive and walk out spending $2,000 with a motherboard and processor in hand and go.
That is a lot of people I know.
Well, now there's one more. That's me.
And the funny thing is, I live technically, if I really wanted to, I could walk to Micro Center.
Oh, I'm jealous. It's only a 15-minute drive for me, so I'm just north of Boston. So
I'm a little bit farther away.
Just a little bit. You're in.
No, I am literally just over the bridge from Micro Center.
I probably pass your house all the time. So.
And actually, depending on where you get off the highway, it's entirely possible you pass the house I used to live in.
When I go to work in the morning, I get off right before South Station.
Okay, no, I'm on the other side.
Oh, okay.
The house I used to live in is right off of I-90 at the Newton Watertown exit.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then we move 5 minutes down the road, so we're right up the street from St. Elizabeth's.
I'm curious, do you have a car?
Yes.
You do? You actually have a parking spot for it?
Street parking.
I got a friend who lives in the North End, and he won't own a car because of it, because he has nowhere he could put it.
Now we live in Brighton, and because that was one of the trade-offs moving into the city, I flat out refused to give up my car. Therefore, parking, I have no issues with street parking. I drive a tiny ass car. However, I refuse to pay more than a certain amount for a parking pass.
Understood. Yeah, luckily my work pays for my parking pass, and it's over $500 a month. Because and that's a bargain for Boston, unfortunately.
Yeah, And it's sad that it's so expensive.
Oh yeah. The upside of the neighborhood we live in, street parking is free. It is permit only. The cost of a permit is up until COVID. You had to go to City Hall with a copy of proof of residency, the registration of the car, show them your paperwork, and get the parking pass.
It's kind of
But
insane.
it did not cost money.
Well, that's good.
And then because COVID, it auto renewed, and so I don't have to go back into City Hall for another couple of years.
Oh, that's good. That's positive.
Cambridge, on the other hand, when I lived in Cambridge for a year, the cost of my parking sticker was, I think, $25 a year.
Ooh, yeah.
But I lived in Central Square, so that was reasonable.
Yeah, I go to maybe Micro Center maybe once a week, once every other week. I was there yesterday. Computer geek on top of every other type of geek I am. So
Just keep piling all that stuff on top, right?
Oh yeah.
exactly. And unfortunately, it means that some hobbies get lost, in the shuffle.
Oh
And
yeah.
The only thing that hasn't gotten lost is creating comic books because I'm financially tied to it now. So
No, I can completely relate. I am a book nerd. And our video game collection is some level of extensive.
I find myself to be a great buyer of video games, not so much a great player.
I'm more the exact opposite. Like I'm very picky about what I will spend money on for video games because a new game is so expensive.
Yeah.
That if I'm not going to put at least 10 or 20 hours into it, I'm not going to bother spending the money.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I should adopt that.
Case in point, I was playing Horizon Forbidden Dawn up until literally 5 minutes before Doug sent me the link. And when I went to save, I looked at it. I've put in almost 100 hours into that game.
Oh, sweet.
So that was worth the money.
Yes.
I don't even want to think about how many hours I put into like Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch.
Well, the funny thing is the reason why I got a Switch for Christmas is because my nieces wanted me to play Animal Crossing with them. Because, I have two different nieces that loved Animal Crossing, and they say, Uncle Alan, you have to play. So they kind of pushed the idea of me getting a Switch, got me on Animal Crossing, and then I played with them both once, and then that was it.
When I first bought the game, when we first moved to New York, had to cash in a 401k to help cover finances thanks to the moving company gypping us out of the size truck we were supposed to need, which meant that some furniture couldn't make the move because of lack of room. And so we had to buy new furniture, stuff like that. So we're like, we'll just, where we know we're not going to be traveling much, we're not going to be doing much, let's treat ourselves. We got a Switch for each of us. Then just before the pandemic hit, I was lucky enough to find, at the release of Animal Crossing, I got 2 copies, one for her, I got one for her because it came out right around her birthday, if I remember correctly. And I tried it and then got a copy for myself, a few days later. And before I reset my island the first time, I had put over 300 hours into the game. And I've reset my island I think I'm on island number 5 now, and I think I spent 5 hours today playing it. After doing some, adulting stuff, running errands and shopping and
like
playing
I said,
some
it's
disc golf.
good to get your money's worth out of it. So
Definitely gotten the money's worth.
I pick up a whole bunch of free games through Epic Games, and then it's like I don't play them. And I was like, what I bother? Even if I don't end up installing them, it's like I wish I had more time.
I think we all do.
Yep. But this is why I have Game Pass for my PC, is because the way I see it, it's like $10 a month, but I have access to literally any game I would want to play, just about, and a PC that can run them. And if I play a couple of big titles a year, it's basically paid for itself. Like, even though I didn't finish Final Fantasy IX, I put enough hours into that where it became worth it.
Yeah. And we've got about 15 minutes left of the show. We want to thank everybody who's tuned in tonight and hung out with us. We've been having a lot of fun tonight talking with Alan Hebert from HB Comics. And we want to remind everybody that next weekend, our schedule is going to be a little bit funky because we're going to be live at PoochieCon in Pennsylvania. If you're in the area, come on by, say hi. We're going to have a lot of fun there. We've got a couple panels set up. We're going to be doing a live radio show next Saturday night from 9:30 to 10:30. So only a 1 hour live show in a panel format. Don't know who we're going to have as a guest yet. I don't know if we're going to have one of the guests from PoochieCon. We may pull some random cosplayers out of the audience. It's going to be a whole new experience for me because I've never done a live broadcast in front of a studio audience before. So this is going to be weird. We also have a podcasters panel that's going to be going on Sunday. So definitely, if you're in the area, check that out. We have another podcasting panel at Anime Boston at the end of the month. Unfortunately, Angela has to work, but she will be joining us for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday of Anime Boston. So be sure to come by, say hi if you see us walking around. I am planning on cosplaying for Anime Boston as Miss Kobayashi from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Which should be interesting. I just need to get the tie and the glasses. I've found the pants. I have everything else I need. For those of you who are interested in PoochieCon, they have an amazing guest list, including Jenny Yokobori, Karina Botinger, Jared Green, Sean Chiplock, Erica Harlacker, Austin Tyndall, Molly Searcy, and Josie McCoy are amongst the guests that are going to be there. Of course, there's going to be a lot of amazing cosplaying guests. A lot of stuff going on. They have a water park tied to it. So if you were lucky enough to get a hotel room through the convention for the weekend, you got 4 free passes to the water park, which we're probably going to utilize that Friday night before all the festivities begin. Evie's going to have a great time at the water park. I know Friday's going to be a long day of driving because we're going from upstate New York, basically northern New York, to Reading, Pennsylvania to hang out with my family for a few hours, then back up to the Pocono Mountains. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of driving. The weekend's going to be crazy, but I'm looking forward to the new experience and just having a lot of fun. And I know come August when the PoochieCon New Jersey comes, there's a good chance that, Angela, you can make that one with us.
I looked at it, and it turns out, if I time it correctly, I don't have to take time out of work, which is a good thing, because I think all of my time off for the year is pretty much already accounted for. And it's only a 3-ish hour drive.
So it could be a lot of fun.
So a long day Friday where I work a full 8-hour day, grab dinner, head down, and then drive back Sunday post-con, get home arguably way too late, and then go to work Monday.
Same here. I think we're going to be going down Friday day, taking the Friday off of work for that one, and a lot of craziness. Thankfully, I have 2 jobs that are very generous in allowing me time off when I need it. So that's going to help immensely with getting to all of these events we have planned. Of course, coming up the weekend after PoochieCon, May 22nd, we are going to be doing a review of PoochieCon, a preview of Anime Boston, and we're going to be joined by our friend Devira Kai to talking about what you can expect from Big Bucks Entertainment. We had him on recently talking about their 10-year anniversary of all the game shows they've put on. He has some big things going on. You're also going to hear us do some live planning of trying to, now that I know when my panel is, we are going to be able to cover at least one of his 2 game shows at Anime Boston, hoping it's going to be Deal or No Deal, but it could be Press Your Luck. I know.
Either way, it is guaranteed to be entertainment.
It's going to be crazy, and we're looking forward to seeing all of the amazing cosplayers, all the amazing vendors and stuff. I am going to do my best to spend as little on figures as possible.
That's probably tough.
I went to Vermont Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo and picked up an anime figure. Although I show this off once again because those of you going to PuchiCon, we are bringing this figure with us. And thank you to our sponsor, Home Circle Media. Gavin Goska sent us a fun little prize pack with some random prizes. Those who can imitate this the best will be able to choose a prize out of this prize box. And there are some cool things, including some Love Live puzzles. So a big thank you to Gavin for sending that our way. And also, big announcement, we will have a full-size stand-up banner at the table, which I am really, really excited about. This thing, I think, is taller than I am.
That's neat.
We're going to look official.
I really want to thank you guys for having me on today.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a crazy week leading up to it with everything going on, but before we let you go, of course, we want to give you a chance to promote, HB Comics everywhere people can find you. Once again, tell people what cons they can find you at and where they can pick up the comic books.
Our next con will be in Leominster at Plastic City in July. We always go to the Northeast Comic Cons. We'll be at the one in November. hbcomics.com. You can also find us on Facebook at either search for HB Comics, or there's an HB Comics on Facebook group, or there's one that's listed as a magazine. Either one gets the same information, and me and Chris respond there. Sorry, Chris couldn't be on today. For those of you that know us, I'm sure you realize that Chris is usually the talkative one, and I'm considered the quiet one. So for me to come on a podcast and do all the talking is kind of jumping outside my comfort zone. Most people who know us know that.
Well, I'm happy that you're able to come on and chat with us, and hopefully we made it entertaining for you.
Yeah, and we jumped a whole bunch of subjects, so it was a little bit for everyone, just like HB Comics. A little bit of something for everybody.
And definitely check out HB Comics, and we will definitely have these guys on again, and we can bring Chris on, and you can see the kind of chaos that he causes. Mm-hmm. Like Alan, like we said, Alan and I are the good ones. Leanne and Chris are the ones that cause the trouble at the cons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, well, we killed Darren,
which is a regular.
Yeah.
That's a regular occurrence here on the show.
And I got nothing.
We could almost start making a drinking game out of it. About, okay, when do we lose Darren? Is it the first half hour, second half, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter? If he makes it through the whole show, it's a miracle.
We could set up drinking games. We could set up a show drinking game. Prop bets for when Darren dies. How many times conception gets brought up.
We didn't touch on one of the other subjects that always comes up, so.
Fair. We could, in fact, do that. My swearing is probably another good one.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, big thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We've had a lot of fun talking with Alan about HB Comics and all sorts of stuff. If you haven't checked them out, go to hbcomics.com and check out the work that they do. The comics, having been there in person, seeing the comics, and knowing these guys for many years, they really put their heart and soul into these comics, and they really are great comics.
can confirm, and I just met these guys this year.
And they really they do, like you said, Alan. You guys put a lot of hard work into it. You've been doing it since 2008, which hats off, going so long and sticking true to your guns and not, starting to follow all the trends of maybe we should do this or do that to make some cheeky easy money. You guys have stayed true to yourself, which hats off to you.
Telling the stories you guys want to tell.
Exactly.
You can definitely tell that you guys put your hearts and souls into those comics.
Thank you.
And we thank you for taking the time to join us. I know it's probably, like you said, it's weird to be on a podcast for 2 hours promoting yourself and talking about something you do, which, especially when you're not used to it. But we really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us again. We hope everybody in your family, fast recovery. Hopefully everybody feels better soon. We all send positive thoughts and healing energies their way. And with that, go ahead.
Yeah, I hope to see you at a con soon, probably Anime Boston. And I definitely hope to see you at a con soon. I'll probably kidnap you at some point to talk about RPG stuff. I don't have an RPG buddy to talk to stuff about. So.
Absolutely. Feel free to find. I'm an RPG nerd. That's kind of my jam these days. So definitely.
I don't know much of the RPG stuff, but thanks to Angela and my friend Douglas Shute from Victory Conditions Gaming and stuff, I've been trying to learn a little bit. But I know that you can watch all that you want to watch, but until you get into a game and experience how to create a character, how to actually go through it, you're not going to get the true experience.
Else, you know what? If we get a small group of people. If we get a small group of people together, we could do a short one-shot during Anime Boston, where we just literally throw you into the lion's den.
If that happens, we need somebody to record it so that we can use it as content for the show.
Okay.
Because people can laugh their asses off at me being a complete and total moron for RPGs.
I could literally, on my phone, I have the D&D Beyond app. I've probably got a dozen different characters, and I could literally just hand you one and say, play this.
And I see Alan smirking. He wants to be there for this.
Yeah, of course I do.
I could totally just give you one of my lower level characters and then just watch what you do with something I designed.
Give me Maple.
For the binder full of one-shots I have, I'd have to actually scale Maple down because the version of Maple is 4 levels too high. But Maple, Alan, to put this into perspective, the anime Bo Fury, I built the main character as a D&D character specifically for a one-shot battle royale. The short version of the concept is the main character doesn't know what she's doing in an MMO, so puts literally all her points into defense so she doesn't die.
Actually, not a bad idea.
And subsequently I went, okay, how do I build this as a D&D character? I did it to the point where half the people in the one shot knew where this was coming from and were terrified. The other half had no idea and realized about halfway through what I had done. Because I took damage that equaled more than 3 times my total number of hit points.
Sweet. So Doug, before we go, give me an anime to check out.
Bo Fury.
Okay.
It's an MMO anime. It's a lot of fun. I will second that, actually.
And it's getting a second season this year.
Bo Fury. Okay. I will check it out.
I guarantee you will enjoy it, especially when you look at it from the perspective of this is a girl who was talked into a VR MMO from a friend of hers. She had no idea what she was doing. And you get to see how this person has no idea what she's doing, by the end of the series, turns into like the final boss. Like the creators of the game had to nerf the game to try to knock her down, and she kept finding ways to become more powerful.
Sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's adorable.
And she also ends up with probably the best side character or pet in anime, in my opinion, with Syrup. A flying turtle.
Flying turtle. Okay.
Yep.
Her name's Maple. She got a turtle pet, named it Syrup. It's fitting. On that note, we do have to call it an evening. We once again thank Alan from HB Comics for joining us tonight. Of course, thank you to Angela and Darren for joining us. Darren was with us for about 30 seconds to start the show, but
And then he died again.
What anime character is it that like dies constantly but always comes back? I know there's got to be at least one or two.
I don't know about anime, but one that comes to mind was the early seasons of South Park when they killed Kenny every episode.
Darren is our Kenny, where it seems like every episode, oh my god, they killed Kenny, you bastards!
There was an anime I watched in the 90s, I'm not going to be able to think the name of it right now, where one of the characters died every single episode. It was like Kenny. I think it actually came out a little before South Park, too. I'm not going to be able to think of it. We're going to go off the air, and I'm going to think of the name of the anime.
Nope.
But it was a batshit crazy anime.
Sounds about right.
But until next week, when we are doing a lot of live video feed from PuchiCon, we're going to go live on Saturday and Sunday from the table. The live show is going to be Saturday night from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. I know, Angela, you're not going to be around. Saturday nights are bad for you. I don't know about Darren. I'll talk with him throughout the week if he's alive and see if he can join us for that. Otherwise, it will be probably just me with random guests coming up and joining us on the stage. So could be fun. Who knows? Maybe we'll get one of the PuchiCon guests of honor to join us, one of the voice actors, which would be cool. But until next week, when we are live from PuchiCon, I hope everybody has a safe week. Happy Mother's Day out there to all the moms, whether you're a mom to humans or animals, as I posted earlier. I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day. Until next week, live from PuchiCon, this has been Anime-Zing Radio right here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.